Hey y'all, this may or may not be a long video, but some of y'all need to get schooled right now. Right now. Specifically the black community. Let's talk about it. So, as we know, Miss Tina Turner, the queen of rock and roll, passed away recently. And it's devastating. We loved her. She was incredible. She was an amazing woman with a lot of strength and heart. And we love her. But I've been seeing these conversations going on the internet around the black community when it comes to Miss Tina Turner. And I'm just wondering why we're having these conversations now. She passed away. We don't need to have these conversations now. If you wanted to have these conversations, you should have had it when she was still alive. And you didn't. And then you want to wait till she passes away so that you can basically defame her name and act like we're just so anti-Tina Turner because she was so anti-black. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Miss Tina Turner, we all know her life story. We've all seen What Love Got to Do with It, or we at least have seen a documentary on her, or we've heard rumors, or we've whatever, you know what I mean? We know the story. Miss Tina Turner, found by Ike Turner, and they had, Ike and Tina and the Ikeettes, and they were performing a lot. But Ike wasn't a very, very abusive husband. To the point where we're very lucky that Miss Tina Turner got to live out her life until she was 85. We are extremely lucky we got to have Miss Tina Turner until she was 85. She could have died at the hands of Ike. But that doesn't matter to the black community, does it? No. Because just like Bill Cosby and just like R. Kelly alike, you guys would have wanted her to stay with Ike, adore the abuse, and keep making music for black people. Now, the notion that Miss Tina Turner stopped making music for black people, first of all, was a bunch of crock. Because if you know anything about your history, which I'm sure most of you don't, rock and roll was created by black women. Sister Rosetta Tharpe, Big Mama Thornton. Rock and roll was created by black women. So this notion that she stopped making music for black people is a load of BS. And it's tired and it's stupid. Another notion that I don't like is people going on about, oh, well, she moved to Europe and she married a white man, so she kind of turned her back on the black community. What else is she going to do? What else is she going to do? Stay in the United States, where she's getting no kind of recognition in the rock and roll industry, where she is not being paid what she deserves, where she's being mocked at every turn because you guys want to make music and hip-hop songs and comedy sketches about her tragedy with Ike. But she's supposed to endure all of that? I don't think so. I don't think so. That is a bunch of BS. I would not stick around and be belittled and be reminded of this really traumatic time in my life with all of you making fun of me. Thank you, but no. So she moved to Europe, where she's celebrated. She moved to Europe, where she is celebrated. And she found a man who loves her, who brought her peace and happiness, gave her a really, really good life. And she is so happy. And so she moved. She went to Switzerland, and she lived her life, and she was happy. And you know what? When you've been abused that hard for so many years, you deserve to be happy. All her kids are grown. She didn't need to stick around. So she left and she found her own happiness. And at the end of the day, as an independent black woman, that is all you can ask for. I might take this a little personal because when my grandmother in the 1960s, in the late 1960s, after she divorced my grandfather, she ended up moving to Europe herself. She ended up moving to Europe, and she ended up joining the civil service after she divorced my grandfather, and then they stationed her in Germany. And so when she was in Germany, she met this really nice Czech man, and he wanted to move back to the Czech Republic, to Prague, where his family was from, because he got displaced because of World War II and the Cold War and stuff. And so he wanted to move back to Prague. So after she finished her term, they moved to Prague. and she moved in, got married with him, and they lived their life so beautifully and happily, right? And she got to travel everywhere she wanted to go. They got to meet all these really cool famous people. She was living her best life, and they were so happy together. And they did that basically up until the time that they couldn't travel anymore. And my grandmother passed away in 2018. But I look at the strength of my grandmother and somebody like Tina Turner, and how they might not have started out their life happily in marriages that were supportive of them or that cared about them the way they should, but they found their own independence. And if that meant moving to Europe to find happiness, then I'm all for it. Because an independent black woman, like I said, is strong and beautiful. And I love it. Plus, let's be honest, so many black people, specifically in the 1900s, were over in Europe expatting. And so I don't even know what you're talking about, to be honest. She did not turn her back on the black community. And all of this mumbo jumbo about her doing it is just a bunch of crock. It's a bunch of crock, and you guys really, really, really need to widen your scope on the world, because a lot of you just want people to live in turmoil and pain like you do. But we're not going to do that, okay? We're not. We're going to find beautiful lives for ourselves because we deserve to. We deserve to. And the fact that Tina found that for herself after so much hurt was a beautiful thing to see. And I just revel in it so much. It's so inspiring to me. Tina Turner and my grandmother inspire me every day. Inspire me every day to go and live out my life, and to live out my life happily despite what anybody says about it. And I intend to. And I love that Tina did that for herself. And I just think that it is so gross that you guys are putting on, oh, she's anti-black because she moved to Europe and she didn't want to be in the US with black people and make music for you guys. Were you guys going to buy it? Be for real. Were you guys going to buy it? When she said in that Larry King interview that Madonna was bigger than her, she wasn't joking. She was not joking. She was a woman in her 40s at that point. Her 40s or 50s. And she was trying to make it in the rock and roll industry. And you guys do not understand how hard it is in that industry. Especially for a woman. Especially for a black woman. And you guys were not. You just weren't. And so, your opinion on whether or not she should have stayed with Ike was invalid. Your opinion of whether she was anti-black because she didn't want to stay in the United States and slum it with you guys, invalid. Invalid. And yes, I know she made that Africa comment about them being lazy. But let's be honest, and I'm not putting her off the hook with that. That was gross. She should not have said it. It wasn't cool. But when she was growing up, there were many, 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 many advertisements that made it so that Americans looked at Africans as lazy, gross, living in huts, run down, and that's just what was put in their head, okay? That's just what was put in their head. And I'm not saying it was okay. I'm not saying it was okay, but it is a product of its time. At the end of the day, Tina Turner was an incredibly strong, beautiful woman who took her independence back. And that is all you can ask for in this world, is to be strong and to take your independence back. Because as women, specifically as black women, we are not dealt a fair hand in this world. And it was just beautiful to me to see her really step out of herself and go and live her happiness for her. For nobody else but for Miss Tina Turner. And I love that for her. I truly do. So all of you trying to make Tina Turner out to seem like some anti-black crazy person who moved to Europe and didn't want to be around y'all, move along. Move along. Take your opinions and go. Because Tina Turner was a strong, independent woman who deserves the world. Rest in power.